Hi, Glenys.
Hey, Aaron. What do you want to talk about today?
How much I hate diets.
Yeah, diets suck.
So what do you do instead of a diet?
Intuitive eating. Health at every size.
So how many times have you had to explain intuitive eating and health at every size to someone?
Like 5,000 times. But that was just to my doctor.
Okay, so how many times have you explained it to someone and then they said, but diets are the only thing I know?
That's like every time. Can we pursue health without thinking about weight?
Yes, we can pursue health without thinking about weight.
That's pretty revolutionary, what you just said. But what if you just don't like yourself at the size that you're at?
I think we need to understand why, instead of just saying I need to change.
So, what's the deal with body positivity?
Oh man, that's a long answer. I'm Aaron Flores.
And I'm Glenys Oyston, and we are Dietitians Unplugged.
Hey, Glenys, welcome back.
Hey, Aaron. Super excited to see you.
Yeah, me too. I don't know why I just said welcome back. It's not like you were just traveling on safari, but I guess I'm welcoming back all the listeners. There you go.
Well, welcome back, everybody.
and we haven't gone anywhere.
This is the unplugged portion of Dietitians Unplugged. Totally
Right.
Unrehearsed.
Totally unrehearsed, but
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah.
How's it going, Glenys?
Pretty good. We are I'm pretty excited to talk about TV with you today.
Yeah. Yeah, this episode is just us, and we're sort of diving into some television shows, both that have been aired already, but also might be coming up, that talk around bodies, fat bodies, body acceptance, and weight loss.
Yeah, I'm calling it the rise of fat TV.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Coining it.
Don't anyone else use that. We got it.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Everybody can use it. It's fine.
Oh, come on.
You just pay me $1 every time.
There you go. Cha-ching.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's been, like, in the last year, there have been some good TV shows that have come out that are actually starting to represent fat people in a way that's, like, actually real and maybe more resonates with our actual lived experience, and which doesn't try to change us. It's not like we're some MacGuffin for something like, oh, the fat person needs to change kind of thing. So we wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the shows that we're going to sort of talk about break the mold a little bit about, not a little bit, a lot of it, around how fat bodies are portrayed in shows, that their character arc is really not about weight loss in any way. It's really just sort of about them navigating the world in the body that they live in. And they're also not, the characters are not there for like the comedic part of the show. They're the main characters. The character arc is not about weight loss, and they're not there for comedy value. Right.
They're not the central joke of the show.
Exactly.
Which is really novel.
Right. It actually is very novel. I mean, it's surprising that in 2019 that we're saying that, but it is indeed novel.
Right. Well, we have to start somewhere, right?
Right. Exactly.
So we're going to talk about a few shows. So we're going to talk about Dietland, #1.
Yep.
And that was out, gosh, was that last year?
Dietland came out last year. Yes. And it ended July 30th.
And it's based on the book by Saray Walker.
Yep.
Of the same name, Dietland.
Yes.
And I know that we were all very excited for this to come out because I loved the book Dietland.
The book was great. And I think, did we actually review it at one point on here, or did we just talk about it?
I don't know. It's really sad that we can't remember that.
Yeah, no.
I think we talked about it a little bit.
We might have.
Yeah. So unplugged. So then they turned it into a TV show,
Correct.
Which I was super excited about.
Yeah, and it was on AMC.
Yes, and now it's on Hulu.
Okay.
It became available on Hulu, and it has a sad story, which is that it has not been renewed for a second season.
Right. So
At least, yeah, it hasn't been picked up anywhere. I don't know if people are trying to get it picked up, but it's one season of Dietland is all we got.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, and I do want to say, if you haven't seen these shows and you're burning to see them, we may be discussing some spoilers. So we'll try not to give away big endings or anything, but buyer beware.
I'm really, you listen probably to a lot more TV podcasts than me. So thank you for saying that out loud, because we would have just jumped into a bunch of stuff and no one, we could have spoiled all this stuff for everyone. So
I yell that at people all the time when they're talking about something and they give away the ending. I'm like, spoiler alert.
Yeah. So spoiler alert. We're talking about, just so you know, we're going to be talking about Dietland, Shrill, in a fair amount of detail. And so if you haven't seen those shows yet, watch them first and then listen to these episodes.
Or listen to this episode and go and watch them after and see if you agree with us.
There you go.
If you don't care about spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
So, if you don't care about spoilers.
And I'm going through our episode list. I don't think we did an episode on Dietland.
We didn't, but I know we talked about it.
it.
I'm sure we talked about it. Yeah. Yeah. Because I love that book so much. And Saray Walker, if you're listening, please come on our podcast.
Well, we just got to ask, I think. Jeez.
I did ask her.
Oh, we'll ask again.
that shit goes through a publicist. They're like small potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. So do you want to go through this one first and then we'll go into Shrill?
Yeah. So we'll talk about Dietland.
Yeah.
So the Dietland is the story of Plum, and she is a fat woman, and she is contemplating bariatric surgery at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
And she sort of goes on this journey of, she sort of gets picked by some people to help them out, really, essentially, through her job, which is at a magazine where she pretends she's the person who owns the magazine, Kitty, and she's Dear Kitty, so she answers all these sort of Dear Kitty letters from people who want help.
Yep.
About feeling better about themselves, and she's sort of having this, I think early on, she's having this awakening of like, God, there's so many people in pain. Anyway, so she's sort of picked by this group to sort of help them out a little bit and get them information and get them email addresses of all the people that she's helped out with her advice. And it sort of kicks off this long adventure that she goes on where it's, it's also kind of at the same time, there's this terrorist group happening where they're kidnapping bad men, for lack of more nuanced details around that. But they're kidnapping bad men and really like doing terrible things, like jettisoning them out of planes and doing all sorts of things. So there's a separate terrorist group thing happening, and those stories get interwoven. Yeah. Did I get all that right?
Yeah. And I think the other main part is that, the main character Plum is on this, starts in this place of really active in diet culture and, is doing, it's not called Weight Watchers in the film, but something very similar to it, and talking about, and even thinking about going to get bariatric surgery. And one of the things that really sparks this change in her is meeting the character Verena Baptist, and Verena is like the daughter of this woman who came up with this very strict diet program called the Baptist Plan, and Verena sort of guides Plum on this journey of really self-acceptance. I would say there's a lot of health at every size principles that are applied in this sort of journey of body acceptance for Plum. And it's woven into like art, and how, what role does art play in expression? Topics of dating are discussed. So, this transformation that you see Plum going through is really sort of, I think what I would see in my office is sort of a very similar pattern of what someone who is in a larger body living through diet culture and then moving into body acceptance, body liberation work would look like. So there, to me, that was why I loved the book, and I was so excited to see the series, because that journey was just, Suri Walker did such a great way of sort of expressing all of that stuff, which was great.
The TV show sort of somewhere along the way in season 1 sort of diverged from the book.
Yes.
In that Plum then eventually meets this terrorist group and becomes involved in them. Somehow. Yeah. She becomes connected with them. And the last episode is very up in the air about, I think, her connection with them, or what that's going to look like going forward. Yeah. Obviously a cliffhanger of sorts. Now, in the book, she never really got directly involved with this terrorist group. And I thought this terrorist group was a really interesting contrast to her actual story of self-acceptance, where, they were sort of, I mean, it's scary. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, I don't think we want to, I don't think we're meant to like go, murder people. Like, I think that plot, that subplot of the terrorist group is meant to contrast with, obviously showing the anger that women feel in the world. But at the same time, like, this isn't the way you want to do it, kind of thing.
And I think the other, first off, first off, but the other part of what I was really excited about is Joy Nash was the lead actress, and she's amazing. Like, I really think that I love her work, and I think she did a great job of portraying this character and really sort of like embodying this transition, right? Of like a woman who is very uncomfortable in her body in the beginning, but also then at the end, very comfortable in her body. And I think the Joy Nash's like portrayal of that was really good. Cause you could really sort of see that happening on a physical level as the series progressed.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, even though that transition happened very quickly over, a few episodes, we just want to say it doesn't really happen that fast in real life, the body acceptance part of it. But for dramatic purposes, it was very interesting to see. And I really enjoyed her in this show. Now, here's the question. Did you like this? Did you like it?
I would say out of 10, right? 10 is like, it's The West Wing, which is the best show on TV ever. Glenys and I disagree on this, but that's a whole nother show.
Just Game of Thrones just wrapped. But anyway, West Wing's the best
versus
show on TV.
Like a number one. I can't even think of one of the worst shows I've ever seen. But anyways,
Biggest Loser. Biggest Loser.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, for sure. I would say I would give it like a 6.7.
That's a really specific.
That's
decimal.
A professional review. Listen, I'm not going. We're not messing around here.
Okay. Wow, that was some serious metrics right there. 6.7 out of 10. Okay, so you kind of liked it, but it didn't quite live up to what you wanted.
And maybe it's because I read the book, right? And I think that always happens when you read the book of something that they make into a show. You're like, oh, I wish they would have done it this way, or they changed this, and that's not in the book. So I'm wondering if that review would be higher if I didn't know the book. So, but yeah, I think the things that really I didn't like were this sort of character arc into like the Jennifer Lives terrorist group, and also like the relationship she has with this guy who's a former cop who works security that, she's sort of into, but not into. And like, it was just, I don't know. I didn't like that part of it as much.
Right. It felt like, so there's a cop and he wants information from her and he's sort of pretending that he's into her and she kind of likes him. And it turns out he's got a wife and he's really kind of using her. And then it's confusing, but or does he like her, right? Like, and so that wasn't in the book. And I just felt like, oh, of course you had to throw like a romance in there because we can't just have a story about a woman, finding her way in the world. I would say I wanted to like it a lot more than I did. So actually, because we live in LA, we always know people in TV. I got a little inside information that this show went through a lot of rewrites.
Okay.
And to me, that says something like somehow it went from probably something that we might have liked to something that people felt was more pleasing to others. Now, I have no idea what the rewrites are about. That's all I heard. To me, though, when I hear like something went through a lot of rewrites, it's like, you're struggling to get it. So, or went through a lot of rewrites and then you didn't quite get it. So I didn't love it. And like you, I didn't love that suddenly Plum was a terrorist.
Yeah.
And maybe if we'd gotten more seasons, that would have evolved where she realizes, hey, this is kind of messed up, right? Like, but we won't know because we only got one season.
Yeah.
So but I would say that just parts of it failed to land for me, where I wasn't feeling as compelled to watch the next episode because I was so excited to see it. I kind of almost was waiting, like, when is this emotional resonance gonna hit me?
I think for me, I would agree. And so do you want to give it a number out of 10? These are the first official Dietitians Unplugged reviews, by the way, like number scale. So, let's go on record.
I'm going to say like 5.5.
Oh, see? Yeah.
Out of 10.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say I would give my review number a higher number if I could just review the first like half of the season.
Yeah. I thought the first half of the season was actually really a lot better.
So I'm gonna like say that for folks who are listening who have not seen the show, but also want to sort of see a character represented that maybe looks more like a body that they occupy, going through some of this work in like a real life setting, I would say watch like the first half of the show. Watch the first 5 or 6 episodes, and I think you get a really great story about someone who is learning body acceptance and the ups and downs that come with that.
Yeah. And I would say, like, even though my review is kind of low and I want it to be higher, I think, again, the book I loved so much. Yeah. It just didn't translate. And so there might be a disappointment factor for me there where I just wanted it to live up to the book so badly. Yeah. And it wasn't doing that. And some of the other characters seemed wooden to me. And some of the dialogue seemed like I was being hit over the head with a, cast iron frying pan with a message. So I do hope that this show gets picked up by like a Hulu or a Netflix or something, and they can really do a great job with it. That is my hope, because sometimes I just think maybe a show didn't have the right home.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I love, Marty Noxon was sort of behind it, and she's been involved in a lot of shows that I love. She was involved with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I love. And just a lot of, there's a lot of other things that she's sort of been involved in that's been interesting. And I don't know. I do still hope that there's a future for this show. Yeah,
listen, me too. I mean, the fact that there's so many different places where TV is getting made these days, hopefully this show will live somewhere else.
There's lots of places it can go. So, this is our pitch for please pick it up. Yeah. Please pick it up and do it justice.
There you go.
So that was our first show, our first fat TV show. And our second one is the TV show Shrill, which is based on the book by Lindy West.
Who also, we're happy to have you on the show, Lindy. Give us a call.
Please come on our show. Just have your people call our people. Our people are actually us. So,
and I'm listed.
Just call. We're easy to get a hold of. Okay. So Shrill, and that was on a little more recently, a couple months ago, and it's on Hulu.
Correct.
And luckily I have Hulu because both these shows are on Hulu. So you watch this show. Do you
I
want
actually
to
like
give it a rundown?
I mean, like, I'll be honest, I binged watched it all weekend because I was way behind, and I was like, oh, I got to watch it before we review it. That would be helpful. So I'm like fresh off watching it.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm ready to rewatch it. I rewatched a few episodes after because I was so excited about it.
So let's just give a brief synopsis, right? So this, it's based on a similar book, a book of the same title, Shrill by Lindy West. It's starring A.D. Bryant, who is on SNL or was on SNL. And it basically follows the character Annie, and really it's almost like Dietland, this woman's sort of journey around how she's viewing her body, living in a larger body. She's a writer for a local magazine in Portland. And the first season is only 6 episodes. Each one is like a half hour, so not too much of a time commitment to sort of get caught up and watch all these episodes. And the show just sort of follows her progression along this trajectory.
Right. And different episodes are based on different incidents that were detailed in the book. So the book is essays, and they're about, they're personal essays. It's a memoir of sorts. And so this is just a dramatization of those various incidents that happen in the book.
Well said.
Yeah. So A.D. Bryant plays Annie, who is, I think, the avatar for Lindy West, essentially. I want to say that the choice of A.D. Bryant for this role is brilliant. I love A.D. Bryant. I know so many people tell me they love A.D. Bryant, and she's so much better used here than on Saturday Night Live. I always have felt like they never knew what to do with her on Saturday Night Live. But I love her, I love her acting in this. I've loved her in other movies I've seen. And so I'm just very happy that this is the person who's playing this character.
I agree. She was great.
Yeah. She's very winning, but she can play all the aspects. So it sort of starts out, she's kind of, she's not really a totally self-loathing fat person, but she definitely has insecurities about her size, and helped out by her mom, who's sort of always encouraged weight loss, and the rest of society.
and her sort of not even official boyfriend, who is like, you got to leave the back entrance. I'm not going to go out with you in public. Type stuff.
Right. She's got the toxic boyfriend who's like, I like you, but not enough to have a real relationship with you. And he doesn't even say why. I don't even think we know why, other than he seems to be a hot
the character's
mess.
name is Ryan, and it's played by Luca Jones, who I think he did a great job as well.
Oh, yeah. He's hilarious. He's playing kind of an unlikable character, honestly, but also like he's making us like him just for his idiocy. Agree. Yeah. So, and that's really what we want here, is that we want real characters, but we do need to like everybody because it's a comedy in a way.
Yeah.
So she's also at a magazine. It's set in Portland, and she's at a magazine that's similar to the one that she worked at, that Lindy West worked at when Dan Savage was her boss up in Seattle, I believe. And the character who plays her boss is kind of hilarious, and he's like very just he's just like everybody's worst nightmare of a boss, I think. Like
also played very well by John Cameron Mitchell.
Right. Yeah. And he's hilarious. And he's been on other shows that I've really enjoyed him on. So I just love the whole cast, and her roommate, who's this amazing actress, and her name is Lolly. I'm going to screw up her last name, but Adafope. I hope I said that right. But she plays Fran, and she is really hilarious in this and wonderful. And she's like sort of the character you all want to be, because she's like very accepting of her own body. She's fat too, and she's just like not having any bullshit about it.
Yeah. So yeah, and we find Annie just sort of like going through as a struggling writer in all these like really difficult both personal relationships but work relationships, and not very confident in who she is, and it's her evolution. And we see this evolution sort of take place over these 6 episodes. And I would say the things that stood out to me were first off, like how this progression of like having one article that she writes, where she goes to the strip club and she's hired to review the buffet, right? And she's the only person in the strip club, and she gets to talk to these women who are working there, and it turns out the food is from the Chinese restaurant across the street. But she writes this really great article humanizing these women who do this work for a living instead of just reviewing the food. And I think that is sort of the start of seeing what I liked about that is it she took the story, but then she wrote like the personal experience. Like we got to see someone, we got to actually see someone, and not just for like what they do, taking off their clothes for a living, right? But like the real people and their lived experience. And that sort of starts this progression for her of like finding her voice as a writer and having building some confidence in that, which was just really amazing.
Right. And she eventually gets to the point where she has sort of this conflict with her boss, who's pretty fat phobic as far as we can tell. And, he's doing this forced fun exercise on the weekend so they can all get healthier. And she sort of writes an article about, like, I think it's called Hello, I'm Fat. And it's like a huge hit. And she publishes it against his, he doesn't give his permission for that. But so then he writes a rebuttal.
Right. She has permission to post without review, right? So she just posts it, but it's all after she goes to this pool party, right? She spends, she was supposed to review the pool party, just not even review it, but just sort of go there because it was on the calendar of the newspaper. But she ends up going, enjoying it, seeing all these other women in fat women in bikinis and all different types of bathing suits, just playing around, having fun. She spends so much time there and has so much fun, she misses the forced fun activity at work and shows up late and gets like really like lit up by her boss for missing it. It's like basically like saying like, look at you, you are going to have to work at this, and meaning your body, if you're going to succeed. And like that just like triggers her. She writes this article and it really like that's where like the sort of blossoming comes up, is like just admitting, hello, I'm fat, and writing it in the newspaper.
Right. And he's doing the usual, equating her fatness with laziness and unworthiness and health and all of that. So, stuff that a lot of us are very familiar with. And I cringed as I watched that, but she turns it into something great. And, and overall it's a pretty positive journey, not without its ups and downs. Right. Now, we were talking a little bit before we hit record, and I said, did you like it?
And my answer is yes. I like it. I had a couple, these are sort of like nitpicky problems. I didn't like near the end of these episodes where Annie is sort of shitting on some people that have been there for her. She stands up her coworker who at this, she was supposed to go to like a miniature horse dressage, which sounds hilarious and amazing. And she misses it, I think, because she's hooking up with her boyfriend. I can't remember if it's hooking up or something happened with her dad. I can't remember. But then she also is like, one of the episodes is her trying to find her troll who keeps saying all these really horrible things to all of her articles. They are trying to track down the troll. And again, it's this guy who's helping her. He has a car and eventually like she's abusing him. She's like, come on, just stick with me and do this. I no one else is going to help me find him. And he's like, I have stuff to do. I have to go back to like work. I have my family. Like I can't just spend all my day
kids
like, trying to like honor your, try and find your troll. Like I have my life. And I feel like there was a part of her character that gets so self-involved. She sort of misses some of the things that like are going on around her, especially like with some relationships around friendships. And I think the same thing sort of happens with her roommate.
Right, exactly. Her roommates kind of having to listen to her whinge on about, this, that, and the other, and she's sort of the long suffering, roommate that's just like you're not even seeing what's going on with me. You're so self-involved. But I will say that I actually loved that part of it, where she becomes a total kind of asshole at times, because it's real. I don't believe that we have to only have fat characters or marginalized characters that are only ever portrayed in good light, especially in the main role. Because I think if we're hoping to have a fully realized portrayal of a human, the reality is lots of times we are assholes. So, and she's sort of getting so deeply involved in her self-actualization that it's shutting other people out, or she's not noticing what's going on with other people. And I think that can happen, right? Like we could just get so involved in ourselves. It's like, oops, I just totally forgot that other humans exist and have needs. And so I appreciated that. They called it what it was. Like, hey, you're kind of being a dick here. So I appreciated that was in there, and that the characters that she was sort of forgetting to realize as people, they were kind of calling her out on it. So I liked that they showed her as a flawed person.
Yeah, no, I can see that for sure.
And that it served the humor, too. Because, miniature horse show. Right. That would have been cool to see, actually.
What do you think of the evolution of her relationship with her boyfriend?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping in future episodes they explore that more. He just seems like kind of a mess, but he kind of comes around, and she kind of says to him like, no, I need a real relationship. And he kind of comes around to realizing like, oh yeah, I really like you. And I think that's going to be up in the air, to be honest. She also has sort of a fling with her roommate's brother, who had always had a crush on her. And that was kind of interesting too. And I think that all of that is meant to be explored in future seasons. So I just thought this guy just reminded me of every bad boyfriend ever, where it's like, you just are, why am I wasting my time on you?
But I also think, like, listen, and after the first episode, I was like, this guy's a dick. Let's get rid of him, But, like, I got to say, like, he tries. And I think he's, at least sort of, like, open to, like, trying to do better. And, I think that's a nice evolution for a male character also, who doesn't have to always just be the bad guy. Again, flawed. Right? Not perfect, but working on it, and maybe seeing some of his own gaps and places where he can improve. So I like that human part of it too.
Right. And that his problem with her wasn't actually a problem with her. It wasn't because she was fat that he was struggling to have a relationship with her. I think it was just he is just uncommitted.
Well, yeah, he's dating all these other women.
And he's that guy. Right. So it's not that he's embarrassed by her or anything. It's just that he's just unserious and uncommitted. And so the problems that she's having in getting a relationship going with him are really his problems. So I liked that too. Yeah, it wasn't like, I don't want you because you're fat, because I thought that would have been an easy place to go.
So what would you give this? What would you give this season 1?
Yeah. Okay, I really liked it, and I want to give it a 10.
10 out of 10. Wow.
Yeah, I really liked it. I came away feeling great. I was entertained. The writing is good. Now, here's the difference for me between Dietland and Shrill, is that the writing on Shrill was spot on and funny and hilarious and to the point, and I got what they were trying to get across. And in Dietland, I was left wondering, like, did I get what they were trying to say here? And also, why am I not fully entertained? Because I'm only watching TV to be entertained.
Okay.
Gotta be honest with that.
So, I mean, listen, 10 is like, well, then what are we going to do with season 10, right? I mean, season 2.
Also, I'm a really easy rater generally. Like, you don't want me where I'm criticizing or critiquing anything, because I'm terrible at that.
I'm giving it an 8.9. Which is good. Like, listen, it's a good show. I really liked it. There were some like I said, those little parts that I didn't like. I think I am, when season 2 comes out, I'm going to watch it. Like, I'm going to love it. I'm sure it's going to be good. And I'm super excited for it. 10 is like, hallowed ground. I don't know if it's quite hallowed ground for me.
Yeah. I'm pining for another season right now. Like, that's how I am. I'm pining. And when I'm pining, it's like, ooh, that was pretty good.
That's good to know.
And I don't actually, there's not that many shows that I'm pining for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess you're going to have to wait till next year. It looks like it's slated to come out in 2020. So if it sounds like you have some maybe back channel knowledge of some of this stuff. So, find out who is making it and get them to do it a little bit quicker.
Well, I want them to take the time they need to write really good episodes. All right. Keep the quality up and just do a few more episodes for a full season. Yeah. So that's the good fat TV.
That's the good. Okay. There you go.
That's it. 2 shows. No, there's probably more out there. It's just I don't watch a ton of TV, so that's just what I'm watching. And if anybody knows of other really fun, well-written, fat-positive shows, then, put them in the comments on our Facebook page or email us. However, you have heard some news, which I was shocked at. So you heard that The Biggest Loser is coming back.
I read a couple articles. I saw it come across the social media feed that this fall there's going to be a reboot of The Biggest Loser. And I think, let me see, it's if I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to be on USA Network, but let me make sure of that. But yeah, sounds like they're bringing back the show, and it's going to be, it's going to, and actually it looks like 2020, because they need time to abuse these people for a full, 6 or 7 months before we get to watch it for our pleasure. So yes, it looks like it's going to be on USA. And it looks like they're bringing in different trainers, and they're trying to, the quote from that they said is that they're trying to make it but improve their overall well-being, not just lose weight, which to me is a load of bullshit. So I'm very disappointed that this show is coming back. We've had Kai Hibbert on from season 3, who has been very outspoken about the detriment of the show, and we've seen research studies to see how detrimental this is to folks who've been on the show. And I am just sad that it's coming back.
Right. I mean, there's no shortage of exploitative TV shows, so it's not surprising. And, there's money to be made and people willing to kind of engage, then there it is. But it doesn't sound like it's like, I don't know what network that is. I just don't think I get that one because I rely on antenna. But so I won't have to be faced with it. Yay. And I would just say, let's, vote with our viewing dollars and not watch it.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. I think what, I'll be honest, I think what surprises me that it's coming back is there's been, and maybe this is just our bubble, right, Glenys? But I feel like there's been so much negative press around this show, between, Jillian Michaels and the previous trainers to, again, this New York Times article and this study that looked at just the harmful physical effects of going on this show. But I guess you're right. I mean, I guess, there's no, our memories are very short, and I guess, the objectification and the abuse of fat people is still something that people want to see and as entertainment.
Yeah, I will say this, though. What you said about their new focus is going to be on
well-being,
wellness or well-being or something. And to me, that's a positive side, not because I think the show will be positive, but it's clearly co-opting the language of non-diet in a way.
Yeah.
right? So I think that is not going to be a very interesting show for people who want exploitation.
Yeah.
To watch. So my feeling is like it won't do well because if they're really not trying to be as abusive, I think people won't be interested in that, which is sad.
So here's the quote from Chris McCumber, who's the president of Entertainment Networks at USA Network and Sci-Fi. The quote is, quote, "We're reimagining The Biggest Loser for today's audiences, providing a new holistic 360-degree look at wellness while retaining the franchise's competition format and legendary jaw-dropping moments," end quote. And if by jaw-dropping moments, you mean fat people puking, fat people developing eating disorders in front of our faces, and us sort of applauding it from our couches. If that's a jaw-dropping moments, I don't know how this is any better, and it's really should not be on TV.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The whole 360-degree look at wellness and, it's holistic. It's like, oh, come on. Clearly this movement, fat acceptance movement or whatever, maybe is having a little impact where they're thinking, oh, gosh, well, we can't come back and look nearly as abusive as we have in the past.
Yeah.
That said, with a focus on weight still, like I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
And I hope that there are enough people out there now that are also not interested.
Well, yeah.
And I wonder if Bob Harper will come back.
No, I think they're getting from what I read, they're getting all new trainers.
Yeah. I just remember the irony of like, oh, all you fat people are going to die and, just being totally abusive about their health, and Bob Harper has a heart attack, and I'm not glad about that.
Thank you for walking that one back, Glenys.
But look at the irony of that.
Yeah.
Who was the person that had a life-threatening illness here, right?
Yeah.
Like, stop equating fatness and health. The proof is right there on your TV show with your trainer who, we don't know why he had a heart attack, right? But he's, by all accounts, a thin person and very, quote unquote fit. You just don't know about somebody's health.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I don't think any of the past contestants have died or had a heart attack. So it's sort of like, well, maybe your whole focus on health needs to not involve weight because it's, clearly not accurate.
I agree. And, listen, if they want a 360-degree look at something, they can look at 360 degrees of my middle finger as I raise it.
Yes.
Every angle.
They can. Every angle.
Gladly.
We the people are the biggest losers for having to have this show
right
back.
As Rome burned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But you know what? I don't have to turn it on.
That's
so
true.
There.
Well, listen, I think what would be really important is for the folks who are listening, and I think would most likely agree with us on this point, is this is where I think our activism needs to show up. And sometimes I think it's more than just not turning on the channel. I think it's being able to sort of say, even around work or, when family members bring it up, like, oh, are you watching the new biggest, it's like, nope, I'm not watching that because, and X, Y, and Z, right? Sort of, this is where bringing in this idea of Dietland and being Jennifer, of like being an activist, not a terrorist, right? But an activist,
right?
I think is really important. And like, how do we stand up and as a community and say, like, this is wrong. This should not be happening. And hopefully that will happen as people see this episode, see this reboot, and see how harmful it will be.
Yeah, and I hope ultimately that it just doesn't prove entertaining to anybody, because that's usually the death knell for any TV show, right? It's like, well, this just isn't entertaining, so I'm not going to come back to it. So that's what I'm really hoping for.
All right. Well, any other shows we need to sort of mention?
There is a show which I have not watched. It's on Netflix. Even if I had Netflix, which I don't right now, I'm not going to watch it. It's called Insatiable. And I think it was touted as this very fat positive show, but the premise alone is fucked up. The main character is a fat girl and she's teased and whatever else. And then she has an accident. She has to have her jaw wired shut. And because of that, she loses a lot of weight and she comes back, quote unquote, hot, and then wreaks havoc in everybody's life and gets revenge or something. But the problem is, like, first they chose a thin actress and they put a fat suit on. And it's like, oh, come on, that's gross. Like, there are plenty of fat actors out there who need jobs and can play actual fat people. But of course, you know, we can't turn them into thin people to then play the thin version of this character. So that's, I guess, why they would have to do that. I think Alyssa Milano is behind it, and she thinks this is a very positive, fat positive thing. And it's like, no, it's not. And you know what? Ask a fat person. Like, if you want an opinion on something, get some fat writers, talk to fat people, and see what we actually think is fat positive. So, but the good thing is it came out and I read all the reviews of TV shows, even the ones I haven't watched. And it was pretty much trashed in the critique of it. So I was very happy about that.
Well, it was, but it sounds like they did pick it up. Oh, it looks like, it's going to be on the CW. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. I'm on the greatest of all resources.
IMDb?
Wikipedia.
Okay.
In September, the series was renewed for a second season, scheduled for 2019.
Okay. Well, boo.
Boo.
So, and I didn't watch it, and I don't know if it's any good or not from an entertainment perspective, but the general critical analysis of it was that it wasn't that good. So, good. And maybe it'll go away too.
Well, there's actually an online petition to remove the show, so we can put a link to that on our show notes.
Okay, yeah. I tend to vote with my dollars and not, and actually I don't have Netflix right now, so maybe I won't get it until it goes away. Yeah. Maybe that's my stand. Well, that's a tough stand right there. I'm not going to have Netflix.
Wow. That's a big one.
Wow, everybody. But anyway, we'll definitely link to that petition if you want to sign it.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, I think we should review more TV shows.
We should. It means I'd have to watch more TV shows. I mean, we could do a whole Game of Thrones episode. It would have nothing to do with the theme of our podcast, but maybe we could link it somehow.
Listen, I'm sure we could find some way.
Yeah.
We're creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it would get you to watch The West Wing.
Pie. The mockery of hot pie for his weight. Oh, made me sad. But his triumph as an awesome character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about on this one, Glenys, or should we let our listeners go off and enjoy the rest of their day?
Go and watch some TV.
Go and watch some
see
TV,
what you
folks.
think. And put your own critiques in our, on the Facebook page.
That'd be great. Yeah. Let us know.
I'd love to hear what people think.
What you would give these shows.
Like it, love it, hate it, doesn't matter. Want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And also, we haven't done this for a while, but also don't forget to go and give us a review on iTunes.
Yeah. Or whatever they're calling the podcast center for Apple now, because I just read iTunes is going away one day.
I just heard that this morning.
Yeah.
We're all going to have to figure that out as podcasters. Zoinks. All right. Well, it was nice chatting with you, and it was nice chatting with you, our audience. And thanks for listening, as always, and we'll talk to you next time.